Hi everyone, and welcome to this tutorial on the Four of Wands. So we've had the intention in the Two of Wands, the action in the Three of Wands, and in the Four of Wands we get a sense of completion. So the first thing I'll do is apply that to divinatory meanings, both upright and reversed, and then the bulk of the video will go through the various esoteric aspects of the card and its related symbolism, and then finally I'll go on to divination again and look at the application of the Four of Wands to the Celtic cross. So we'll now go through the divinatory meanings of the Four of Wands when it's in the upright position, with Venus at the top, Aries at the bottom. So the first thing to go through is the fact that we have got a sense of completion here, and it can represent a significant phase or project in our life that we feel very pleased with. We feel a sense of accomplishment. So it's a time of joy and satisfaction, and this is also seen quite strongly in the Rider-Waite card here, where we've got a celebration occurring. Just one thing to note is just one of the limitations of this card is that the fact that we have got a sense of completion, but it's only going to be a temporary phase because our desires change, structures that we've built become outdated. So I've just added a note here: try to be flexible for the future, as we always outgrow structures as they are, by definition, limited, and we'll see that more as the video goes on. So it can relate to, again, a property deal, a house, a business, marriage or family, or even just patterns, established patterns in your daily life, and these have been built on solid foundations. So there is a sense of stability in this card, and it relates to the numerology of the four. Can indicate a rest is needed after a period of hard work has come to a successful conclusion. Also indicating a need for security and stability, again this number 4 here, and wholeness, circle. Getting completion of a phase in one's life, perhaps academically, spiritually, or in one's career. And just a note that we accomplish things more easily when our lives are in a stable and harmonious place. Crowley, in his book, in the Book of Thoth, says that that tact, in other words sensitivity in dealing with others, and gentleness are necessary in this process. So this sense of sensitivity and gentleness that Crowley is talking about is related to the fact that we've got a Venus in this card in terms of its astrology. So that's the upright definitions. We'll now go on to the reversed divinatory meanings. Okay, I'll take you through some of the reversed divinatory meanings for the Four of Wands. The card is reversed, we can see that easily here because the Aries sigil at the top is reversed, it's upside down, and we've got the same with the sigil of Venus here, which is upside down. So with a reversed card, it implies, or it can imply, that we've taken on more than we can actually handle. It says here the expansiveness of Jupiter. Well, Jupiter is related to this card because Jupiter is associated with the Sephiroth Hesed on the Tree of Life here, and I'll talk about that more later, but it's to do with building things. Jupiter is very expansive, it's very, very beneficial, but in a reverse position it can mean that we've taken on too much. A tendency to start new things without completing others, and being too comfortable in the structures of life that we've built. I implied that in the previous section. Desires can change, and therefore we may need to come out of our comfort zone. So it's like we've created life, it's useful, it's functional, it's stable, but we're not really inspired anymore. So we're like, we need something new. And that's what that is implying. Not feeling whole and balanced within ourselves. So this is an inner balance and completion rather than an outer type or error there. This last point here is going on to what Crowley mentioned that was inherent in this card, and that is to find a tact and gentleness with regards to finishing things. So it may be that we lack tact, or there's too much harshness coming from another person, maybe in our job, and therefore this lack of harmony is preventing us from completing what we really want to do. I'll give examples of this in the Celtic cross spread at the end of the video, so it becomes, you can see how it works out in a more practical situation, but these are the points that are associated with its upright and reversed divinatory meanings. The Four of Wands for the Waite card is a very joyous card. We have figures celebrating here, further figures in the background, and we have a castle here. A castle again representing that idea of structure and stability. The Four Wands here are joined, and we'll have a look at the transition between the 2 and 4 of Wands in the Rider-Waite, as well as the Thoth decks in a later section. So the Rider-Waite can indicate a celebration taking place, a joyous card indicating harmony, fulfillment and success, probably indicating a good time to get together with friends and family. The numerology of the Four of Wands is associated obviously with the number 4, and here we have for the first time a 3-dimensional object which is called the tetrad. So with the ace we had a monad or point, with the 2 we had a dyad, and that was a line. Number 3 we had a triad, and that was our triangle. And here we have like almost like the completion of the triangle in a 3-dimensional object which has 4 sides. Some Greek philosophers associated the number 4 with the 4 elements, which were fire, water, air and earth, and that is also represented biblically somewhat, where you have the 4 horses of the apocalypse representing the spirit, emotions, the mind, and again the physical. I've got an article about the symbology of the horses of the apocalypse on my website, so for those of you that are interested in that. And another significant thing with the number 4 is that the first 4 numbers, when added together, produce this shape which is called the tetractus, and you have a sense of completion here. I won't go into details in this. So here you have 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 4 is 10, and again this is a sense of completion because we have for the first time a double digit. So again, this is what relates to the fact that the 4 of Wands relates to structure such as castles, businesses, careers, projects, or even just structures within our daily life that are harmonic. Okay, we'll move on to the next section, and that talks about the position of the 4 of Wands on the Tree of Life. The 4 of Wands is associated with the 4th Sephiroth here, which is Hesed, and it's ruled by Jupiter. It's the first of the Sephiroth which forms what is called the ethical triangle, which exists between the 4th, 5th and 6th Sephira there. Below that is another triangle called the astral triangle, and above this we have the supernal triangle, which we saw in the first 3 cards. So these are the 3 triangles of the Tree of Life. In between here you've got an area called the Abyss here, and it separates the Holy Trinity, the spiritual Godhead if you like, from the manifestation of spirit into matter. And this Sephiroth here is the one that is said to be the first Sephira which actually gives manifestation to form. So this relates to the card here in that this is the completion of something. So Hesed is something which is known as having the properties of being anabolic, which is to build up, to make material. So it's a significant part of the Tree of Life, and it's the doorway to things manifesting in the world. All of these Sephira that are on the Tree of Life have archetypal figures associated with them, and Hesed has the enthroned king, in other words the king on the throne. It has the pyramid and the square, and all of these are a suggestion of stability, and that's one of the things that we've talked about in terms of its divinatory meaning. The other point of the Four of Wands with regards to the Tree of Life is in relation to the 4 worlds. So these are interconnecting trees of life here. So the Four of Wands is Hesed in Absolute, and this is all about the world of the divine. So it's the most, it is the purest form of the 4. And as you go down the suits, because this second one is associated with the cups, then we've got the third world to do with the suit of swords, and the 4th Tree of Life here would be the discs. Okay, so we have the Four of Wands positioned here within the 4 worlds. And that's really all I want to say with regards to the Four of Wands and its position on the Tree of Life. Only that this is represented biblically as Jacob's ladder. The astrology of the Four of Wands is a little bit against the grain. Here we have Venus in Aries. Now, Mars rules Aries, and Libra is ruled by Venus. So instead of its natural ruler of the whole of Aries, which is Mars, we have the 180-degree opposite. If you think of the line going from here to here, so it has to do 180 degrees to get into Aries, and therefore because you got an opposite, you would think that these two would not have a harmonious relationship, Venus in Aries. But in fact they do, and it's all to do with the harmony of opposites, believe it or not, and the fact that Venus itself is very significant in this card, as I've pointed out with Crowley saying right at the beginning that tact and gentleness is one of the best ways to get on and complete things that you're going to do in your life. So we've been through that, and that's how it links in with the astrology of the card. I think the other thing to point out was that in this third decan here, we have a completion of that decan in Aries. So the 2 of Wands would be associated with the first decan, we've done that. 3 of Wands with the second decan in the middle, and we complete with the 4 of Wands in the third decan between, it'll be 21 degrees and 30 degrees. So again, we have that sense of completion in this card. The symbolism of the 4 of Wands is fairly straightforward. We have the green background here representing Aries, and we have the red spokes of this, which is effectively a wheel, and that's representing Aries. We have the doves of Venus balancing the energy of Aries, and the yellow flame here in the centre is far more controlled. It's not like the flames issuing out from the Tree of Life on the Ace, or the heavy doges, the 2 crossing in the 2 of Wands, and the 3 of Wands had a lot of flames that we talked about. So here we have the sense that things are coming to a conclusion, and we're now actually containing our energy by just completing this project that we've been working on. And we'll apply that to different situations in the Celtic cross spread at the end. We've got the sun represented by this yellow circle, so that creative energy has now formed the circle of completion. And you have this like white area in the middle here, which is like representing clarity. So I think that is pretty much it, apart from the fact that the 8-spoked wheel here is similar in design to a mandala, where you've got 8 spokes, and again they are all to do with balance and harmony. So that's another link in to the divinatory meanings of this card. So that's it for the symbolism. We'll just now move on to the transitions and then finish off with the application to the Celtic cross. Again, we have a straightforward transition between the 3 of Wands and the 4. These were the flames that I was talking about in the previous section here, and the flames in the 4 are contained. Clearly they're not in the 3. So it's essentially the completion of work which was done in the previous card. So if we look at the Rider-Waite, for instance, we'd have the 2 wands here. Notice that this wand here is fixed. In other words, there is a sense of not coming out of one's place of safety. He's just planning on what his intentions are for the future. In the 3 of Wands, you'll notice that these are all free standing. He's gone out into the world. And in the 4 of Wands, you have a sense of these wands being joined together in this garland type arrangement of flowers. So same thing happening with the Thoth deck, only probably pictorially it's illustrated slightly better in the Rider-Waite, I think, if you're looking for transitions. Okay, we'll move on now to the very last section, which is applying all of this to the 4 of Wands in the Celtic cross spread. So this is the last section of the video. If the 4 of Wands comes up in the very first position, in other words, it's the central theme of your spread, then this would indicate a desire to complete something which you've started, to have fun and have harmony in your life. So it could be something like having your house deal go through, because all that is associated with stability and harmony, or it should be, especially if you just newly bought the property. Similarly, it could be to do with career or another sphere of life, depending on the questions that were asked. For card 2, crossing influences, these are, I usually see these as being something which hinders, because it's masking the energy of the first card. So this is obstacles and challenges, and if the 4 of Wands appears here, it could mean that we've taken on more than we can handle. It could be a work situation, a DIY job, feeling overwhelmed and proving maybe it's a job that is just proving so demanding. Like I know people that are in the are teachers at college, and they just, the way the system runs, they're doing the job of 2 or 3 teachers, and that's proving a very stressful time. So a 4 of Wands here would be indicative of that type of situation. Subconscious influences, it's like feeling insecure and incomplete. Things that are subconscious are normally, or can be, things that we don't really want to deal with. So we do not have that completeness of the circle and harmony of the 4 here. So it could be that these sort of feelings are getting in the way of us actually getting where we want to go materially. Recent past affecting the situation. This can be a particular phase in your life, even just getting over your teenage years and going into adulthood. So that is a phase of completion. And it's something I think that can be drawn on as a source of strength. If you've had a period in the past where it has been harmonious, you've had a lot of joy, a lot of fun, then if things are not so great now, at least you can look back on that period of stability and perhaps draw on some of the things you were doing at that time to help you through the present. Card 5, your hopes and goals. Really to do with, if the 4 of Wands appears here, hopes and goals, it's you have something close to your heart that you'd like to finish. It may be a career in which you want to achieve a particular level of proficiency, or it could be feeling complete in terms of a relationship or a marriage, or even to do with spiritual orientation, feeling as if you want to complete your spiritual path. So the 4 of Wands can, like the other cards, work in many different spheres of life. If it appears here, the 4 of Wands, to do with recent future, it's really telling you to finish current projects before setting new ones for yourself, and that sense of completion is going to be in the near future. Card 7, your internal self at this time. Stable, harmonious, joyful. For example, someone who may have completed their A-levels and going on to university. So that would be a situation which would reflect the 4 of Wands in this position. In position A, your external environment, we could take the more challenging meaning here, and it could mean that in our external environment we've got a tactless work colleague or a boss, and that situation is proving a difficult environment for us to get on and do our work and complete what we have to do. So the workplace can be very stressful, and the 4 of Wands here can relate to the if we look at the reverse meaning here, it's to do with the lack of tact, which Crowley says is pretty central to the energy of this card. Number 9, guidance and warning. Basically, once you finish your goals, don't get lazy and rest in your newfound security for too long. I think this is one of the most important things, that when you develop stability, when you develop structure in your life, it will function really well for a period of time. But life changes, our desire changes, Life is a constant process of change. Indeed, Crowley says on this point that this limitation bears in itself the seeds of disorder. And we have disorder coming right around the corner in the Five of Wands. But in position number 10 here, the Four of Wands is really giving us a good overall outcome. Just great times ahead, successful completion of our goals, providing that joy and stability. And if it's reversed, then it's just going to be delayed for a bit longer. So, this card, it does carry within it limitation, as Crowley says, but generally speaking, it's a very good card to have. So that's about it for the Four of Wands, and we next move on to the Five of Wands, in which there's a lot more symbolism in that particular card.